Focus. I'm Ixchel Ruiz. I'm a developer advocate for JFrog, and I'm here with Kevin Wittek from Atomic Jar. So he is a developer and a maintainer of Testcontainers. In Disclosure, I love that project. So, Kevin, tell us about you.
Yeah, hi Ixchel. I'm very happy to be here and to be here at JFocus. And okay, things about me. Yes, you said the important things. I'm a software developer, open source fan, open source maintainer. Sometimes I help my wife with doing real science because she's a real scientist and she researches pigeons and pigeon behavior.
Oh,
Then
okay.
we do Python stuff and all crazy data science stuff. It's also cool.
Oh,
Yes,
nice.
and when I'm not programming, I'm a musician. And I used to do more music, but as I grow older, I'm having more programming than making music, but still.
It tends to happen.
Yeah.
So I actually saw the title of your session and I'm intrigued. Rethinking the testing permit. Tell me, why should we be rethinking it?
Yeah, so I not only love software and software development, I also love history in a way, or very interested in history. And software and software development and the relationship of software development to history is a bit strange. So we don't tackle our own history of software development very scientifically often. So sometimes we have concepts, they suddenly appear in the industry and everyone starts adopting it. And the testing pyramid, the classic one, like the testing pyramid with the 3 layers most of the time, unit test, integration test, end-to-end test, UI test, whatever. I don't know when I first saw it. It was maybe in university, maybe in a book, maybe in a blog post, but it was suddenly there. And everyone knows this and it's kind of like a common knowledge. And everyone thinks like that's how the test suite should look. This is the ideal test pyramid. But then I started to thinking, especially after working with test containers, okay, what is the origin from this? Where does this come from? So I dove into this, and it's not that old actually. It comes from the early 2000s, from the Agile community mostly.
Okay.
So people around Mike Cohn and some others, like the Selenium developer is also one of the first that proposed this. And it's important to see this in context. So context is early 2000s, which is not that long ago.
Yes,
Yeah?
no,
So
no.
it suddenly was there, and then people started to communicating, adopting it. All the advocates were good in pushing this out as content, the people writing the books and the blog posts, whatever. And I think it was mainly used back then as a way to advocate for automated testing in general. Because early 2000s...
Which is good.
Yes,
We still
it's
believe
good,
in that.
Good. I love automated testing, totally. So back then, people generally couldn't really think, I assume, automating everything, automating infrastructure. So some people were already doing it maybe, but it was just slowly there. They said, okay, we need more test automation. We can have the bottom layer, we can automate this. So let's advocate this so people have the tools and start writing more automated tests. And this also came a little bit at the same time. JUnit as a framework started to establish, which is something that came out of the Smalltalk community, this unit testing concept. And yeah, and then suddenly everyone thought, yes, many unit tests good, less integration tests, because that's how we got sold on this. But then, if you look again deep into this, first of all, you don't find clean definitions of unit tests and integration tests. And then some definitions of the unit tests, even from back then, from people like Martin Fowler, they say, okay, if you can talk to your database very easily and very reliably, no problem to do it from within your unit test. And then, okay, if already back then the definitions were so fuzzy, then it's maybe time to start revisiting them and think about the context. And maybe nowadays we don't need this kind of shape more because we have different tooling. And containers in general, probably one of the driving factors that allows us to shape it differently. And yeah, we have the cool examples from Spotify with the testing honeycomb. We have from the JavaScript community, they call it testing trophy. It also has a honeycomb, but then like a solid foot at the bottom. Others, Diamond model, from Logs.io, back then he's a Stream native. He pushed this at a couple of conferences. I like this a lot, looks like the honeycomb. And yeah, I think it's good to revisit this and rethink this. Yeah.
I totally agree with you. It's not only about the number, the coverage, or the things that are involved in the test. It's also about how long they run, how many components. I mean, integration test, it's sometimes only about 2 components. It doesn't have to involve 2 end-to-end tests.
Yes, true, true.
So for
But
me,
depending on the definition of integration
Yes.
test, by the way, which
Yeah.
we don't have clean definitions for.
well, for me, it's very, very simple. It's like 2 different components, at least 2. Because people start thinking
What
like
is a component for you?
the unit of defined functionality. Yeah, unit of defined functionality that is not like repeated inside other components.
So,
So-
if you would have 2 components in the same process, in the same JVM, so to say, and you test them, that is an integration test for you? Like 2 objects of different classes, they talk with each other. Is this an integration test or a unit
Oh my goodness! yes, like inside, outside the JVM. If it's outside, then it's
Yeah.
a different. If there are services running in a different operating system, then where is the barrier? I totally agree with you.
test? So, like, I don't want to tease you or so, because I also couldn't clearly define it. But if you look at those pyramids, so the visualization is 2-dimensional. But the model is actually 1-dimensional because you just go on the y-axis. The x-axis has no meaning in those models. But now already we discussed, okay, there are much more dimensions to tests. Inside, outside process, opaque, open box, closed box.
If they share, like as you said, if they share the memory,
Yes.
then if they share the communication channel, so do we care? Would not? Like, yeah, it's
Yes,
interesting.
Yes, yes.
Well, thank you very much for that brief review on our concept history and to make us think about what is testing and what levels.
Yes, I loved it.
Thank you very much, Kevin. It was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you. It was great for me as well. Thank you,
Okay.
Ixchel.
Thank you.